From fog-nourishing smart gardens to modular farming pods that can function in the desert, technology has taken agriculture to a whole new level. But is smart farming the ultimate solution? I'm Susan Choi from the Food Institute, and you are watching FI Spotlight. Today, we are taking a deep dive into technology-based farming. We took a few innovations that caught our eye, and we're going to get an expert opinion on these products. Here with us to examine the latest inventions in farming is Tyler Mason, Assistant Professor of Horticulture at Oklahoma State University. Tyler, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so Tyler, let's look first at Plantform. It's an indoor smart garden designed for personal and residential use. You buy pods of seeds from the company and you place them in this beautiful gleaming white chamber, and you pour water, I believe, into internal chambers at the bottom, and you close it up, you turn it on, so to speak, and the chamber, I believe, releases fog. It creates fog from the water that you've poured in the tanks, and that nourishes the plants at automated intervals. So no muss, no fuss, and before you know it, you've got beautiful vegetables right inside your home growing in there. Tyler, it seems really cool to me, but from your expert opinion, what are your initial thoughts on this?
It's a really neat way to take what has been commercial aeroponics and fogponics that have been used on the commercial scale and make it accessible to the homeowner. And it's not necessarily new technology, it's just repurposed, commercialized, and turned into a subscription service, not unlike TV or internet. The thing you want to keep in mind about some of this technology is that, yes, it reduces chemical inputs, and it makes fresh food accessible to you. But you're a little limited on the crops that perform well under these systems. Leafy greens and herbs are the typical crops that you might grow in a aeroponics or fogponics technology. And I looked at the details, and it looks like for 15 plants, they sell for $30. So you're looking at $2 a transplant, which isn't a terrible price, really. If you think about what it would cost to buy leafy greens from a grocery store, you'd probably be spending twice the price to buy them outright than to grow themselves. So this kind of is a unique, novel way to grow your own herbs, grow your own veggies in a sustainable way.
Yeah, definitely a beautiful looking way to grow your own veggies from your home. Tyler, what about outside of the home? We actually got the chance, here at Food Institute to talk to some members from the Plantform team at the CES show in January. And they were mentioning that they have been collaborating with restaurants and schools for them to grow vegetables, using these chambers. What do you think about, that kind of commercial use? Do you think that could be a viable solution for businesses, for schools, other establishments?
There's an element of scalability that exists with this type of technology. And when you're growing in a small space like this, maybe 2.5 feet wide, 2.5 feet tall, it's not the best use of space. If you're space constrained in a home, then yes, it makes a lot of sense. But remember, you're paying a price premium for the subscription service of this at $2 a transplant. So it would still be more cost effective if you were a restaurant to buy your produce from a local farmer than it would be to grow your own.
All right, Tyler, thanks for those insights. Let's move on to Midbar. That's another very interesting company that we've come across at CES as well. It's won, multiple innovation awards. Another smart garden of sorts, an inflatable pod that they say can be used in any environment. You can take this pod, grow your produce, whether you're in the Arctic, whether you're in the jungle, whether you're in the desert. And actually, they have said that they've been working with the country of Jordan to function an actual pod as part of a government project. They've been doing it, successfully now. Tyler, yeah, what are your thoughts on this invention? Do you think this really could be, a solution to solving world hunger, growing crops in, any type of environment? What are your thoughts?
Sure. What's novel about this technology is its ability to be used in locations that maybe a container doesn't make sense, or it could be used interior. And the fact that it's inflatable, it's quick to set up, is very interesting. I don't know if there is a trade-off in durability that exists when you transition to inflatable versus a container. I don't know the answer to that question. I think the end user will find out what its lifespan is. It's certainly very functional and makes a lot of sense from a technology standpoint, in that where the Plantform was limited in size, this is not. So you could achieve economies of scale with this type of technology. Still, because it is contained, because it is LED driven, and it is hydroponics using an aeroponic technology, it is sustainable. It is an opportunity to reduce inputs, to reduce chemical use, to reduce pesticides, to conserve water. But you got to keep in mind that there are certain crops that do better in these systems than others. Some of those crops, as we mentioned earlier, are leafy greens, lettuces, kohlrabi, and herbs. There's not a lot of space in there for tomato production or peppers or cucumbers. So we can't grow all vegetables in these systems because of the time it takes to grow them and the space that it takes up, the space that those vegetables take up. So you really, with any of these technologies that are built for commercial production, you want to make sure that you have a market for them. And that market is typically going to be restaurants, or it's going to be direct to consumer or farmers markets, where you can get a price premium for selling quality directly to the end user.
And finally, let's take a look at 𝗟𝗏𝘁. Seems to be similar in concept to Midbar, but it's not an inflatable pod. It is, quote, a modular plant factory, easy to use for consumers and businesses to grow fresh, sustainable crops. A standard enclosed pod, another way to garden, in any environment, I think. What are your insights here, Tyler? Do you think this could be a viable solution for commercial farming?
Yeah.
Does it seem to be easy to use? What's the pros and cons here of this product in your view?
Yeah, it is really novel. It is using the most advanced technology to grow crops in an opportunity where you may not be able to grow anything else otherwise. So that means that as any investment goes, this is a type of controlled environmental agriculture where you're monitoring temperature, you're monitoring the nutrients that the plant receives, and you're monitoring the light. Because you're recording all of those things, and it takes money and energy and time to get things up and running, there's a large initial upfront cost. And I'm not sure what it costs to start an 𝗟𝗏𝘁 system, but it would be a higher upfront cost than traditional urban agriculture would be. But like I said, because it's controlled environment, your yields are going to be better, your pesticide usage is going to be less, your water conservation savings is going to be there. So a lot of really novel things, but it is probably still more productive, more versatile to grow in ground than in a container.
All right, Tyler Mason, Assistant Professor of Horticulture at Oklahoma State University. Tyler, thanks so much for your time again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And that wraps up another episode of FI Spotlight. I'm Susan Choi. Remember, you can check out all the great content that we are doing by clicking on this playlist. Till next time, take care.